right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Detroit Sports Podcast, the Doc and Jock talk show. I am the Doc, John Macaroon, and joining me is a man so glued to the television, watching CNN, wondering where this plane is. He's actually volunteered to look at the pictures to help out to find this plane. My cousin, Adam Strozinski. What's up, cuz?
It's funny you bring that up because I didn't even know what happened with that plane. I was asking you questions about it, and you had to fill me in. So I have no idea what's going on in real-world issues. Just know about sports. That's all I know. That's why they call me the Jock.
A lot has happened in the last week. I celebrated a birthday. I turned 35 yesterday.
You're old as balls right now.
I'm feeling old, man, and I'm feeling it. Yeah, I mean, cuz, can you believe yesterday was 50 degrees, and today we had another snowmageddon, 8 inches of snow. Just after yesterday with 50 degrees, I believe, 90 inches of snow in the last 4 months as we've been doing this podcast.
Are we going to break the record? Are we close to breaking that record, or do we need like one more major snowfall to break it?
I think the next snowfall, we got it, or we're close at it right now. I mean, this is something that is unheard of, this snowmageddon. I mean, because literally, you know, in Michigan, you have people complaining about the potholes, and then today, you got the potholes, and on top of that today, you had another 8 inches of snow after the snow melted. It just isn't fair. It isn't fair that we got to deal with this.
You know what the best part about the snow is? It fills in the potholes. That's the only good thing.
Exactly. So, and you know what? For us, the best way to deal with it is to hit the sports hard, and a lot has happened, cuz, in the last week. And we got a great podcast for you fans out there. We are going to talk, obviously, about the Lions, obviously the passing of Mr. Ford. The Lions made news today with the signing of Golden Tate to a 5-year contract. Adam and I are going to talk about free agency, the moves they've made, and what the implications are for the NFL draft. We're going to have a round. We're going to play a round of The Doctor is in Session. The Jock is ready. He's prepared with 3 questions, and you guys will get the insight from the one and only Doc John Macaroon. To the second half of the show, we're going to play a round of buy or sell. A lot of issues have come up in the last week with our Michigan State Spartans, with the Wolverines, with the Pistons, and we're going to play a round of buy or sell, and we'll give our opinions on a couple topics that Adam and I came up with. And to end the show, for those of you that listened to the show last week, we are going to tell a couple of opening day stories that should be entertaining, and to give fans out there who are new to the podcast and new to the Detroit area a flavor of what we do on opening day and how fun it is and the experiences that Adam and I shared. You ready to kick this bad boy off, cuz?
I can't wait. Let's do it.
All right. Cuz, you know, unfortunately, the news broke, I think, Sunday around noon that Mr. Ford, that William Clay Ford Sr. passed away. And it sparked a kind of a issue with fans in that some people were like, you know what, do we start right away talking about his legacy as an owner, or do we pay the man his respect?
Oh, you mean Twitter trolls? Those were out? The Twitter trolls were out, huh? You don't say.
News came down, cuz, at 12:01 that he passed, and 12:02 you read tweets that said, well, kind of happy. Some people said on Twitter, you know, whether we'll talk about that, whether it's respectful or not, to get into it. Some people had said, you know what, maybe it's time now the Lions can actually really turn the page. Because, you know, cuz, you know, we have to acknowledge it. You have to be honest that some people said, I will not watch the Detroit Lions until Mr. Ford is no longer the owner or he's no longer with us.
I can't wait. I just want to talk about Twitter trolls. There were a whole bunch of them out in effect on Sunday.
Now, here's just my quick opinion. You know what? Honestly, you and I, the fans out there, the media, you don't really know Mr. Ford. You know of the fact that he was definitely a large figure in the Detroit community. But you don't know him as a man. We don't know his inner thoughts, his inner workings. He was a very private man. Because, you know, it's been actually like 3 or 4 years since he's gave an in-depth interview regarding the organization, regarding what's been going on, kept things close to the vest. So we don't know him as a person. So when the media comes out right away and starts writing these things to try to inform us, yes, they're paying respects to him. But I think the majority of the fans out there, they want to talk about his long-standing legacy as the owner of the team that we've watched growing up. No! 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 You know, I think my honest opinion was that day, that Sunday, may have been a little bit too soon to start saying, you know, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to, you know, a new regime, who's going to be the new owner. I think that day only might have been a little bit disrespectful on our part, and I can accept responsibility for that. But
you don't have to accept responsibility. You didn't do anything. I posed a question to you that said, so, ... Super Bowl? No! question mark. That was it. That was it. There was no disrespect to the man. This was just a question that I had posed to you in regards to the direction that this new organization will take. And when I say new, I understand it's still in the Ford's family, but Mr. Ford is not running it anymore as he has passed on. There was nothing disrespectful, no disrespect meant to him, none to his family. I understand that he was a great man outside of the sports arena. And there are two issues here. There is the man and his family, and then there's what he did with his sports organization. And we as fans, we are responding to what he did with the sports organization. We never had dinner with him. We never had drinks with him. We weren't lucky enough to sit there in a press box and talk football with him. That's never happened. That's not happened with 99% of the fans who are listening to this podcast right now. You know, one of you may have been lucky enough to do that, but I doubt it. So when we pose questions like, so, Super Bowl, question mark, that's just saying everything that everybody else was thinking. You're right, it might have been a bad taste on my part, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. And if these little Twitter trolls want to come out, you know who you are. There's probably about 7 or 10 of you out there. You know who you are, who got all bent out of shape about it. If that rubs you the wrong way, I'm sorry. I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking, and I didn't mean any disrespect to him. What I was talking about is now that we have a new direction, a new voice, maybe we'll go somewhere. Everybody has basically said that this team was cursed, and there might have been a curse from
the Bobby Lane.
The Bobby Lane curse. We had the Mr. Ford curse. I mean, we have this franchise is cursed. I mean, it last season kind of showed it and proved it, right? And we've all talked about it. So when I pose a question like that and I say something like that to you via Twitter, I don't care that everybody sees it because I could have direct messaged it to you, but I send that out there and it's joking. And it's just to sit there and kind of put a little bit of light and a little bit of fun spin on what's going on. And for Twitter trolls to get all bent out of shape and like, oh, that's disrespectful, you're an idiot, that's cool. I'm just asking a question. That's all I'm doing. I'm sorry. Mr. Ford himself, by all accounts, what everybody has said, he was a great man. He was one of the blue-collar owners, which is really weird and kind of funny to hear because you've got to be a billionaire, basically, to own a sports team. But he was one of those guys who would come down to the locker room, shake all the players' hands, talk with the players. I heard stories that when Bobby Ross was hired, he sat there, he went to the back of the room, and he basically was yucking it up with the guys who did the post-game show. And these guys would sit there and they would just cut him to pieces. Cut him and cut the family to pieces. But he didn't sit there and he didn't take any of that. It just didn't bother him. He understood that they were doing their job. It's just part of the business. From all accounts, he was a really good guy. He was great. And it sucks that we lost him, and it sucks that we lost an owner like that. That being said, all we have is his football legacy, which was horrible. And you can't put a spin on that to make that look any better than what it is. That's all I got to say on Mr. Ford.
Yeah, like I said, everyone out there in Detroit gave their condolences. We obviously, feel bad for the family in that Mr. Ford is no longer with us. And you can obviously tell many players, former people that worked for him have come out and said, you know what, we really wanted to win one for Mr. Ford. But it didn't happen. And the reasons why it didn't happen was he was loyal to individuals who didn't do their jobs for a long time, from Russ Thomas to Matt Millen to coaches. And so the situation with the Lions is pretty straightforward. Everyone says that William Clay Ford wanted to win, and the overall thought was he just really didn't know how to win. And so with that said, now his wife Martha's taking over the team. Bill Ford Jr. is going to have a larger say in the organization. And so now a new chapter has come with the organization. The reporting has to be fair. And in terms of his ownership of the Detroit Lions, it just wasn't, in the end, all that good. And so, as a result, I think you have to say it. I think, we should have maybe waited a couple of days to obviously, get into that. But I don't think it's unfair to point out. It's not unfair. It's out there for everyone to see as record. He one playoff win in 56 years, and one playoff win since 1990. It was 1991. One.
Everything you do in the National Football League is a mark on your resume. And his ownership shows more losses than it does wins. And that's on his resume.
And for people who said he was cursed, he formally took ownership of the Detroit Lions the exact day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated. His ownership began formally with the NFL as the owner of the Detroit Lions in November, I think, in 1963. So that's kind of odd and strange and things like that. But the biggest thing with William Clay Ford Sr. is this. He maybe was too hands-off And in the NFL, I think you got to be a little bit, not to the extreme of Jerry Jones, where he's like acting as a general manager, he's all into everything, but you got to be a little bit cutthroat, and you got to make moves. And so the common consensus is this: he may have just been too nice of a guy, and you always hear the age-old saying, nice guys finish last. And we are now still one of four teams in the NFL have not made the Super Bowl, and unfortunately our Lions are one of them. I think it's two expansion teams, the Lions, and one other team. And so it sucks all around to be part of that, but a new era has come, and like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. I just think, yeah, maybe when you tell a picture of a man, you got to tell the whole story, and this one part is just a knock on him in that he was really not a great owner, and unfortunately he passed away without ever really seeing great success. And so hopefully he laid the foundation, he made a great investment. I think he bought the team for around $6 million, and now it's well over $5 million.
It was a great business move.
Great business move. So he was a great businessman. And, it's just unfortunate that the city of Detroit, the Detroit Lions organization, didn't get a chance to reward him with significant success. But, like I said, now it's a new page. And now, for Lions fans, this is the greatest time of the year. Free agency kicked off, because yesterday, free agency kicked off right around the time, like 2:30. I know the signings became official at 4. Right at 2:30, Twitter went down. And as you know, I'm a Twitter-aholic. And
you're attached to Twitter at the hip.
I was like, what is going on? There's no updates. Oh, my gosh. This is right at the time when Adam Schefter was tweeting out, this player is going to move here. DeMarcus Ware got cut. He's in Denver. All this information, boom, it froze for about a good 20 minutes. And for a guy like me, being without Twitter for 20 minutes was a long time. So it just revealed, like, wow, how attached to the hip I really am with Twitter.
No? You're really weird.
I need to maybe step away, back away, and go back to maybe some old-fashioned information like clicking the internet and doing other kind of research. But man, I was so surprised at how reliant I am on Twitter that it went down. But free agency kicked off. The Lions were slow on day one as some big moves were made.
Before you go any further, how did you feel about that?
How did I feel about day one of the free agency?
Yeah, them being a little bit slow. Maybe not coming out with a giant splash on day one. How did you feel about that?
I'm torn. I'm the kind of guy that right at this point in time is ready for the Lions to make like all the free agent moves, like the best 1, 2, 3 players. I mean, ideally, I would have liked to have gotten Revis, DeMarcus Ware, and then maybe another a wide receiver. So I'm the kind of guy right now that at first, my first inclination as a fan is, who's the best player? Let's get him. Okay, after that wears off and you start realizing, okay, there's cap implications, there's how they're going to fit on the team, there's their age situation, things like that. How much money do they want? Okay, then I said, okay, obviously Revis is not in the picture. And for the Lions, their focus is going to be more on the draft. So you understand that they're probably going to get a cornerback in the draft. So I'm like, okay, you know what? They didn't make a move right away. I'm okay. So now the news came today. We got Golden Tate. We signed him to a 5-year deal, fresh off of his win and the Super Bowl. He's a young player. He's obviously going to come in and take over Nate Burleson's spot. And, at first you think, what? Nate Burleson was productive here in Detroit. His stay in Detroit, we give him credit for what he did here. He just was not on the field the last couple years due to injury.
He was getting taken out by pepperoni pies all day long.
And so
maybe Twitter follower Freddie can sit there and I don't know, give us a little bit of insight on how a pepperoni pizza will take you out.
But Nate Burleson was a guy that was an adequate number 2, but he got up there in age, and we've now upgraded. Golden Tate's 25 years old, and if you just look at his numbers just briefly, his numbers are trending upward. There is a value placed by playing next to Calvin Johnson, who is naturally going to draw double teams and a lot of attention to his side of the field. So last year, he had 64 catches for around 900 yards, 5 touchdowns. In his career, in his 4-year career, he only has 15 touchdowns, but I think his career numbers are trending upward. So basically, what the Lions are doing is, with the offense, they are squarely saying, Matthew Stafford, here it is. They are laying the table. I mean, all they need now is a tight end, which they may get in the draft or they may address in free agency. I know a lot of us maybe want Owen Daniels or Jermichael Finley out there. They're out there. But I think the Lions have set the table and said, Matthew Stafford, we can only give you so much. We've given you the best wide receivers. We've given you one of the best wide receivers in history in Calvin Johnson. We're giving you a young 25-year-old Golden Tate who's had Super Bowl success. You got 2 running backs who are making, not even that, like 10 million between the both of them. So what more does he need to succeed? The Lions are saying, okay, the offense is pretty close to being set and being ready to be productive as you need. Now you have to go and build a defense. And so can the Lions do that? That's the question. I like the move. I'm not like, the first reaction is like not sexy, like it's Golden Tate, the Seattle offense, they were more of a defensive team and Golden Tate didn't do a whole lot. But he's a guy that can come in and be a wide receiver and a dual threat as a punt returner, get us those key plays along with Ross. He's coming back. So I'm happy with the move. I feel like, okay, you can honestly say, Matthew Stafford, you've been given the chance to show us what you got. Now it's time to do your thing.
I think it was a good move. I think it was a solid signing. I'm glad that they sat there and they kind of pumped the brakes. They didn't go all in on day one, which was nice because they're dealing with cap limitations. I think the move, though it wasn't very sexy, like you were saying, I think it's a solid fit for what they're trying to do. I think Golden Tate is a good football player. I think he will be even better here than what he was in Seattle. I think the offense here might complement his skills a little bit better. He's a big physical receiver. He likes to jockey for the ball. He can go up. He's not as tall as Calvin, I don't believe, but he's a strong receiver who you just got to put the ball near him and he catches it. So I think the move was good. That being said, I would have went defense. And a guy like TJ Ward, who signed for $4 million, 4-year contract for $23 million with $14 million guaranteed, I probably would have went after him, given him 5 years at 30, 5 years at 32, 5 years at 35, maybe made 16, 17 of it guaranteed. I don't care if that sat there and that bumped up the cap number, because you could have went out there and you could have got another receiver for, I don't know, right around a cap hit of $4 million. It'd have been fine. You'd have been okay. You'd been right there with your cap restrictions. No big deal. So I put a little bit more emphasis on defense, and I really wish they would have locked down that safety spot. That way you can go and you can draft your cornerback in the draft, and you start building and putting this defense back together the way this defense needs to be put back together. Because we talk about it all the time. Defense wins championships. I don't think by signing Golden Tate, it automatically puts them in the driver's seat in their division. And I think by shoring up that defense and building that defense, maybe it won't put them in the driver's seat this year. But I think in a year or two, you add another piece or two, you've got a great defense. And that great defense can carry you further in a playoff run than, say, that great offense. Because you've seen what that great offense did. It sat there and got smoked by New Orleans, 3 years ago? So I would have liked them to have gone out and addressed the defense a little bit more.
But you got to remember, we're still early.
The Golden Tate signing was okay.
Yeah, we're still early. It's only day 2 of free agency. It's a long, drawn-out process, and I think the Lions, I think went after their first need. Okay, they wanted to get a wide receiver. Obviously, they've targeted that as a position that we need. We need to lock down someone for a long term as Calvin Johnson's number 2.
And I'm glad they did that during free agency and not during the draft, because you don't want to blow it on the first round pick on a wide receiver that doesn't maybe pan out. That being said, all signs point to Sammy Watkins being outstanding. I don't know if he'll be there at 10, and I really don't want them to move up to get him if he's there at 6 or 7, because now you're having to throw in a second round pick. So you just invested a lot in one guy, and what if he doesn't pan out? So I think you can get wide receivers. I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen, but you can get productive wide receivers almost anywhere. And you could have got one a little bit later in the draft or a little bit later in free agency, and I think you'd have been fine. That being said, I think the Golden Tate signing was fine. It doesn't really bother me all that much. I'm glad that they didn't sit there and they didn't go overspend for a guy like Eric Decker, because I don't think a guy like Eric Decker is going to be what you want him to be. I don't think he's going to be the same player without Peyton Manning. I think he'll be a good player. I don't think he's going to be the same player.
Yeah, I think with Eric Decker, we spoke with someone. We said, hey, he might be a possible guy that we may go after. And someone that we spoke to, I think you and I had said, you know what, Peyton Manning made him, and coming here he wouldn't be as productive. And I thought maybe if he came here that maybe Matthew Stafford could make him too. But I think, in thinking it through, yeah.
Has Matthew Stafford made anybody yet, though?
No, he hasn't made anybody yet.
And that's what scares me. So when you say that, can Matthew Stafford make Eric Decker? I'm hesitant to say yes. I'm going to say no, just because he hasn't made anybody yet in his 6-year career as a Lion. So I don't see that happening. All this stuff going on with free agency and basically the $10 million that they had going into today. Do you think Ndamukong Suh has hurt this team? Because I feel like by him kind of dragging his feet along, not picking an agent, telling the team that he's going to represent himself, and then switching his agents midstream, and then now finally getting a guy, them sitting there. I mean, there's kind of a finite number that he can get paid, because it's just the way where he slots in at. So I don't understand why if they're going to restructure him, and we all believe that he's going to be restructured. I know me and you don't want that to happen, but we believe that's what's going to happen. If this is the case, why can't you get this deal done, free up a little bit more cap space, go out there and get the guys that we need on this defense and possibly on this offense to sit there and make this team more explosive next year. So do you feel like he's hurting this team? Because I do. I feel like his pride, his arrogance, and the things that he's done going up to this point thus far has really hurt this team. And it just shows that he's not a leader yet. He's not willing to sacrifice a little bit of himself to better this team. And that bothers me. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. Go to management and say, hey, I'd like you guys to trade me. And just let them trade you away. Or you sit there, you play out the season. But don't sit there and hem and haw and then kind of pin this team in the corner, because now they've got to try to sit there and finagle cap numbers to get guys in here to help make this defense better.
And so here, my opinion on Ndamukong Suh is this. He's one of those players that, you know what, if he's productive, you deal with all the outside BS. Okay, and so now the question really is this with the Lions and Ndamukong Suh. If he's gone, can Nick Fairley step into that role and take over for Ndamukong Suh? And I think the question in the organization is no, because Nick Fairley is inconsistent. He shows up once every 2 or 3 games, and then he's more dominant. So Nick Fairley is, benefiting from playing with Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh takes a lot of double teams. He is a run stopper. Unfortunately, the Lions do give up a lot of big plays here and there to running backs, and sometimes Ndamukong Suh can be inconsistent and take rough penalties, and has put kind of a light on the Lions in terms of their persona and their attitude as being kind of the rough boys or being dirty and things like that. But you have to have those kind of dirtballs on your team. And so if Ndamukong Suh wants to test the market and believes he's worth that much money, he knows what's around him. And so he has to do what's in his best interest. For me personally, you know what? If he's a little bit of a dirtbag and he has that edge to him and he produces on the field, he has to produce on the field. His numbers are kind of tough to analyze because he's getting double teamed. He's getting a lot of attention because of he's such a presence there. And I think you have to look at this. If he's out there on the open market, would he be picked up? In a second, he'd be picked up. So I think he's going to have to test the market. And for everybody out there that's an athlete, you really have 2 choices in life. You can go after the money, and you can go after winning. And if you're lucky, you can get a little bit of both. You can get paid and go to a better situation. So I can't fault a guy that can say, you know what, let me look out there. Let me look out there if maybe the New England Patriots might want me. Maybe the San Francisco 49ers may want me. Maybe the Seattle Seahawks may come calling. I can't blame a guy. I just think a guy needs to do a little bit better in the room and with what comes out of his mouth. I just think that maybe in the PR department, he's not that great. But like I said, he's got to do a little bit more on the field, and you just have to deal with it. I don't think he's hurting the organization all that much. You need a couple of those players to get over the edge. You need a couple of dirtbags out there on the field to get over the hump. And so in my opinion, I don't think he's hurting the team, and I think he's doing what he's got to do. I just kind of wish that, I just wish his cap number wasn't so large, but it is, and we'll see in the coming weeks. I mean, all signs point to the fact that the Lions want him. They want him on the team, and as long as the money's right, he'll stay. And he's the guy that's going to say that. He's not willing to shy away. We as people kind of want our athletes to say, I want to be here in Detroit. I love it here. I want to be here forever. I want to be a career Lion. And if they don't say that, then we kind of look at him funny. He's not saying that.
I don't need him to say that. But
what do you want him to say?
I want him, if he wants to be here, then tell management he wants to be here and work out the deal and try to free up some more money so they can add more pieces. If you don't want to be here, just go to management and be like, look, this isn't going to work. I want to test free agency. You're not going to get me to sit there and renegotiate anything so you guys can work that cap number down. You're just going to kind of have to bite the bullet, because everything that you're getting out of Allen Park is basically saying that they're working on a deal. They're trying to get something going. They've sat there. They've had discussions. Everything, it seems almost like it's misleading you to believe that they're trying to work something out, but it doesn't feel like anything's going to get worked out or anything's going to get done. And I wouldn't mind it so much. It wouldn't bother me as much if, like you said, his production was there. If his production was what his production was his rookie season, I'd have no problem. You would earn that. You would earn whatever you want. You could ask for the moon and the stars, and I would say give it to him because he's that productive. You haven't seen that kind of production since his rookie season when he came into the league and he was just devouring quarterbacks and eating up offensive linemen. You haven't seen that in the last 2+ years or so. It's just gone away. It's not there. And maybe that might be a little bit of scheme. Maybe that might just be him being unhappy with the coaching staff because there were rumors that came out that him and Schwartz didn't get along. But no matter what, he's not that dominant force that you've seen that he could be. I feel like you almost get 80% of him the last 2 seasons. You're not getting his full 100%. If you were getting his full 100%, like I said, no problem. And Dominic too, you want to test free agency? Fine. But this is what we're willing to do for you right now. And you can sit there and you can give him the moon and the stars, and that's okay. And that's fine. But that's not happening because, like I said, I feel like we're almost being misled because everything coming out of Allen Park is saying, yes, we're talking, we've had discussions, we're trying to work this out, this is what's going on, everything's kind of pushing for a new deal, and we're trying to get the terms laid out, and we're having negotiations and we're having talks. But the way it feels, I don't know about you, it feels empty. It feels like they're just words. It doesn't feel like anything's getting done. Okay. And that's my issue that I'm having.
Okay, and like I said, I think that this is an issue that's still going to be played out over the season. And like I said, he is a key piece to that defense. And if he doesn't step it up, then maybe he'll be a piece that can be let go or maybe used as a trade bait during the season. He may be, maybe you never know. We may trade him on draft day. You never know. It'll be great to wait and see what we do with Ndamukong Suh. Stay tuned, guys. After the break, we are going to play a round of The Doctor is in Session. Stay tuned. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Everyone out there, if you're a tennis fan, the Midwest Mixed Doubles Championship is going on as we speak. You can go out to the Grosse Pointe Hunt Club and watch some great mixed doubles tennis action. So get out there, enjoy some tennis. Visit www.midwestopenchampionships.com for information on Michigan's premier mixed doubles tennis tournament. The Detroit Sports Podcast is a proud sponsor, and if you're a fan of tennis, you can go watch great professional tennis action for a great low price. Also, we want to thank everyone who is a supporter of our podcast. Thank you for visiting our website at www.detroitsportspodcast.com. You visit our website, click on the banner links. You can check out our blogs. You can get sports tickets, sports memorabilia, sports gear at great prices. Right now, there's a special sale up to 70% off sports memorabilia. Just visit our blog page at the bottom of the page and click through, guys. Don't pay full price for anything anymore. Anything related to Detroit sports, we have on our website. So visit www.detroitsportspodcast.com and check us out. Also, thank you for leaving feedback on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. We love bantering with the fans, and it's one of the great ways Adam and I can continue to be part of the Detroit sports scene by interacting with you fans, and we appreciate the love and support. The Twitter is blowing up every week, as you guys see, and everyone's been leaving feedback and answering a lot of our questions that we throw out there, and Adam and I couldn't be more happy and more appreciative.
Yes, so even you Twitter trolls, we still appreciate you guys too.
We appreciate the Twitter trolls out there. All right, cuz, it's time for The Doctor is in Session.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man. And I'm saying, woo, right here. I'm the man. Woo!
You got your stethoscope? You ready to go?
I got my hat. I got my robe. I am ready to tackle anything that you got for me. Let's do this.
All right. Do you have a problem with the NCAA not allowing the Baylor Bears to wear their Sikkim Bears uniform in the NCAA tournament? For those of you who don't know what the Sikkim Bears uniform looks like, Adidas rolled out these alternate jerseys. Basically, they're neon green or they're olive green, and the inverse color is going to be an olive green or a neon green. And basically, it says Sikkim, SIC''EM, number, and then it'll say Bears underneath, and that's on the chest. I have a picture here for you, so you can take a look at that and tell me if you have a problem with the NCAA not allowing that. The NCAA has come out and said that you can only have your team mascots or your school name on your uniform. So that being said, Sikkim for the Baylor Bears has nothing to do with Baylor or the Bears.
Okay, so interesting idea for these uniforms that Baylor has come up with. But no, I'm in full agreement with the NCAA. One, these uniforms are ugly and they're hideous.
Really? I think they're kind of fly. I like those. They're different. They're different.
The doc is conservative. I am a traditionalist. I think these uniforms, the NCAA has to think about their image. They have to think about their branding. And unless these uniforms were flying off the shelves to a degree that would move the needle, I just think that the uniforms, you guys, if you could see, I can describe it to you. It's like is it bright yellow and green?
That's like a neon green and olive green.
Olive green uniforms.
What the hell's going on out here?
No, man, that's hideous. I don't know why. Why do you think why do they roll out with them? Are they cool, or they like them, or they feel like it's good luck?
It's just something that Adidas is doing. I think just more marketing.
Yeah.
So
no,
they came out with different jerseys for everybody. The only thing is everybody else's is okay because they have their team name. Or they have their logo or their school on it.
Yeah.
This one has Sikkim Bears, which I'm guessing is something that Baylor does. It's something for the school, like go Baylor Bears, Sikkim or some crap like that.
In my opinion, I'm not a fan of third uniforms. There isn't really a third uniform out there that I could say, you know what, bam, that's really cool. I'm really down with that.
What are you talking about? We have one right here.
The
Lions?
The Lions?
The Lions?
I'm not a fan of
it. Are you really?
Honolulu blue and
it's
white.
the plain blue one with the silver pants and the silver helmet? Dude, that is perfect.
Not down with it.
What about the black jersey? The black jersey's okay, too.
Okay. The Lions have tried so many different jerseys, and some of them have been successful, hit or miss, but I'm not in general, the Doc is not a fan of the third jersey, and I'm definitely not a fan of these Sikkim Bear jerseys. They are ugly, and I just think that stick with the rules and stop making these jerseys to try to promote sales and things like that. Stick with, you said, the policy is logo, number, and name on the back. That's all you need. Doc vetoes this jersey.
As he throws the paper at me. How do you think Jonathan Martin will be received in the San Francisco locker room after the way this past season unfolded? You know what?
Great move by the 49ers. Why? The head coach, Jim Harbaugh, coached Martin at Stanford. So he's going to have a fresh start. He's already tweeted, you know what? You don't get that many chances in the NFL. You got to take advantage, and he's blessed. So Jonathan Martin came from a situation now where obviously some of his teammates naturally are going to ask him, hey, man, what happened out there in Miami? Can you handle it? And he's going to have to basically, all he's got to do is prove that he's passionate about football. That's the biggest problem, that the perception of Jonathan Martin is that he's soft and that he's a guy that doesn't want to play football, that he's not down for the cause, that he's not one of the guys. That's the worst perception you can have. And I think a fresh start for him is going to be good. He's just going to have to prove himself. And I just think that it's really sad that a guy like Incognito won't get a second chance. I think that he deserves a second chance and that he should be on a team. You know what? Those text messages came out that they sent back and forth to each other. And Jonathan Martin isn't a saint. He was talking some pretty nasty stuff there on those tweets back to his boy. And so he's not 100% blame-free in this situation. So he just got to prove himself on the field. He's got to be one of the guys, and he's got to be able to, in a psychological term, handle conflict resolution in a better way. And if he divides the locker room again, then he'll be a guy that'll be let go pretty quickly, and he won't get another chance. But this situation, tailor-made for him. He got lucky. He's going to play for his college coach. He's going to be able to have a chance to have a fresh start, and I have no problem with that. I think good luck to him. I think he'll be fine.
You said he's got to prove that he's not soft. How does he prove that he's not soft? Does that mean that he's got to sit there in almost like prison rules? He's got to find the biggest, toughest, strongest guy there. He's got to go punch him in the face, and then whatever happens, happens? Or is it just more a thing of him acclimating himself to the team and just, like you said, trying to fit in and just being a good teammate?
I just think there's a lot of ways to prove yourself as a man, as a football player. One, workout warrior. Get in there in the gym. Lift a lot of weights. Be in there in the gym. Be there early. Show that you're committed, that you're down for the team. Two, maybe a little bit extra if he's hurting. Get on the field. Not be one of those players where, my ankle twinged, sit out practice. No, you get out there where you're fighting and demanding to get on that field, where you get banged up in the game and you have to have everyone ripping you off of them to take you out of the game. You got to show that you're passionate and that you're not one of these guys that's in it for the paycheck, that you're down for the cause, and that when there's a situation in the locker room, you don't blab it to the media. You don't cry about it. You go to the player, you handle your business. You go to the coach, handle your business. You don't let things leave the locker room. The locker room should be an insulated environment where nothing comes out. It should be PR, politically correct, central. And so if these things come out again, then you're soft. If you cry and if you don't handle problems the right way and you're often injured and you don't produce, then you're a guy that's going to be known as soft. And the players in the locker room catch on to that quick. The perception of being soft spreads real quick, and players will test you. And so the first thing is this: how does he handle a player on the opposite team taunting him? Hey, sissy boy, what's going on? How does he handle it? Does he let a player go through and get to his quarterback, or does he stand up and knock someone down, maybe take a penalty, get into a fight or two on the field? Show that you're tough. That's what you got to do to prove that you're a tough, proven NFL player, in my opinion.
Moving on to number 3. With the World Cup less than 100 days out, do you think that Brazil will be ready for the kickoff, or do you expect there to be issues with the teams taking the pitch?
Man, I know from the talk, there's a lot of demonstrations. There's a lot of protests going on. It's not the ideal environment for a World Cup. The World Cup is a celebration of football. It should be a festive environment, a peaceful environment. And so all indications are that Brazil is having a lot of demonstrations, a lot of upheaval, a lot of civic and civil unrest. And so that's just not a great environment right now for the World Cup. But I think that Brazil is going to try their absolute best to save face and do what they can to put on the showcase that the World Cup is. Because the World Cup is the biggest event outside of the United States. It's the biggest event in the world. It's growing. The seeds are growing. The seeds have been planted for the soccer here in the States. But until the U.S. makes a deep run, besides the quarterfinals, if they get to the Final Four or maybe the championship game, I don't think that soccer will ever get to that fourth sport level here in the States. Soccer is such a big deal, and it's a great, passionate sport that you can't have these kind of issues surrounding a World Cup. The World Cup should be a festival of the greatest sport, I think, in the world, with the most passionate, crazy, rabid fans out there. And so to have this issue is kind of sad that the environment out there in Brazil is not 100%. And I don't know 100% what's going on. I know it's a lot of, like I said, in general, a lot of civic unrest. And so then it's just a shame that the World Cup can't be in the best environment possible with the best PR for the best sport in the world.
All right, I have a bonus question if you want it, since we're just talking about soccer right now.
Always. I'm always down to talk soccer, man. It's a great sport.
All right, with the UEFA Championship League going on and proceeding right now, who do you think will be the team that comes out the victor here and the champion?
You know, luckily this week, because of the weather and my birthday, I had a couple of days off. Got to watch a couple of the games. I'm a big fan of soccer, and until a team can beat Bayern Munich, that's a team you got to roll with. I mean, they are clicking on all cylinders. They can play any kind of style out there right now. Cause in the Bundesliga, they are 20 points clear atop the second place team. So basically, they have no pressure to win their division, to win the Bundesliga. They're gonna win it, so they can rest players. 20 points clear in the table. So they got a great combination of Robin, Ribery. Oh man, their team is stacked, and they are just adding pieces. They are one of the wealthiest teams. They are a team that is hardened. They got a lot of grit. They lost a lot of championship games, and they came through again last year to win the Champions League. So until I see a team knock them off, there is no team in the world that I don't think can, in a home and away series, beat them, and I don't see it happening. The team that has the best chance are the Spanish teams. I mean, FC Barca or Real Madrid. Those are the only two real competitors, and I just hope that, I'm hoping the best situation for the Champions League is to have a FC Barca versus Bayern Munich championship match. That'd be a great game, and you'd showcase the greatest individual player in the world in Lionel Messi against the greatest team in the world in FC Bayern Munich. So FC Bayern Munich all the way until I see a team out there capable of beating them, which I don't think is going to happen. Back to back, baby.
I agree with you. I think that would set up to be really, really nice, that final. So that's all I got for you.
All right. Good job. I think it was very good questions, cuz I enjoyed that. And that Baylor question was very interesting. I hadn't heard that. And very good. Very good questions. I enjoyed it, and hopefully came through as expected.
Yeah, you did very nice. I thought you did a good job.
All right. Stay tuned. We're going to play Buy or Sell after the break. Stay with us. Everyone, welcome back to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Guys, you can subscribe free to our podcast at iTunes. Look for it, search under Detroit Sports Podcast. That way you never miss an episode of our weekly Detroit Sports Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. That is the best way to stay in touch with the Detroit Sports Podcast. We'll always let you know when the phone lines are open, when you can dial us up and leave your opinion. Or if you want to tweet us with the hashtag DocNJock. Hashtag DocNJock. And that way we read your tweets often, and we'll listen to your opinions, and we'll often banter with the fans and have some heated debates. Also get a chance to interact with our fans, to tell us about the podcast, to get a sense of what you guys want to hear and what you guys want to talk about and things like that. So definitely follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. It's the best way to interact with the Detroit Sports Podcast. All right, cuz it's time for Buy or Sell. We have a series of questions that we put together to debate regarding the hot topics here in Detroit, and I'll kick it off. So obviously, cause the last couple of games with the Wings haven't been that great, and we played the 8th place Columbus Blue Jackets. We were, I think, a couple points behind, and we fell further behind with that terrible, I think, 4-1 defeat versus Columbus. And the biggest issue that we see now is right now we're not putting together a really quality, consistent 60-minute games. Spurts here and there, and that's just kind of what we see with the Wings. Are you buying or selling the Red Wings making the NHL playoffs?
I'm going to buy the Wings. You have to look at their track record. It's been 22 seasons that they've made these playoffs. So until they sit there and they give me a reason not to believe in them, not to trust what they've got going on, I'm going to buy them. I know it looks bleak right now. I know it looks bad. You've got your top 2 forwards out. You've got injuries up and down the roster. Your goalie's getting sick with the flu and he's puking and pooping on himself. And it's a complete debacle right now. They can't find the back of the net. But for whatever reason, I still believe this team has a shot to do what this team always does or has always done for the last 22 seasons. So I'm going to buy.
What? Adam is the hockey guru of the Detroit Sports Podcast. He's an optimist. He's a passionate hockey fan, and he's buying these Red Wings. What are you not? Are you not watching? What are you watching? The product that's on the ice right now, the Red Wings, it's time to sell. I think right now, as we speak, we are out of the playoff race. I think that the injuries have finally caught up to us. There are no signs out there that they are going to consistently play 60 minutes all the time. I mean, right now, because the biggest indication of struggles with the Wings, they're having a tough time playing at home. They're having a tough time consistently. I mean, they broke out, scored 7 goals just last Friday.
Yep.
Broke out with 7 goals, I believe, versus New Jersey. But they're having a tough time consistently with putting together 2 or 3 games where they put together a 60-minute effort. And I just think that Jimmy Howard is struggling. I just think that his game is not at his peak position, and it needs to be. I just think that the injuries have caught up with the team, and I think that on defense, I'm trying to have faith and hope that we're going to do it. I just think that we may have given up a little bit too much for David Legwand in terms of, I read up on that prospect. We gave him up, and he was like a prospect that many people are saying is great out there. So I don't know. You know, you gave up a lot to get a aging player, but I'm right now, I'm selling on the Wings. I think it's time that the streak ends. I don't think that they have enough to make it. I hope I'm wrong, but right now what my eyes tell me is that the Wings are not playing NHL playoff caliber hockey.
They're 3 points out of a playoff race right now, and they've got 15 games left. 3 points is easy to make up with that many games left, and I believe that they're playing 9 of the next 15 games at home. So that allows them to rest a little bit. And like I said, last 22 years, there's been up and down seasons, and they've always found a way to get into the playoffs. I think this year will be much of the same. They'll find a way to get into the playoffs, whether they just kind of sneak in or whether they have to sit there and they have to claw their way in. I think they get in, and that's just what you've seen from this organization, top to bottom. They've always put a solid product out there that has basically won games and won enough games for the last 22 seasons to get in.
It's that time, everyone. March Madness is upon us. Get your schedules ready. Next Thursday and Friday, the tournament kicks off. This week is tournament week, where all the divisions play, all the different leagues, Big Ten, Pac-10, have their tournaments, and they decide the automatic bids. So, are you buying or selling Michigan State making a deep run in the NCAA tournament?
If they keep playing like this, they're done. They're done after week 1 if they keep playing like this. But much like the Red Wings, you've seen this time and again with Tom Izzo. He sits there and somehow he's able to pull, rabbits out of hats, and it seems like every 4 years, because it's every 4 years, he gets his team to a Final Four. So I think this team probably will make a deep run. They've got all the pieces. We've talked about it all season long, that this team, on paper, top to bottom, is the best team in the Big Ten. I think it's just a matter of them getting a few games. Maybe they sit there, maybe it starts this week where they make a couple games, they get on a little bit of a run, and everything starts clicking again. Because right now they just look disjointed. They look like a team that's basically been injured all season, and now they're trying to play with each other again, and they're just trying to find that chemistry again. And that's kind of what they look like. So I think they get that chemistry back, they win a couple games, they start feeling good about themselves, and then I think the pressure's off them, and I think they can make a deep run. You're looking at probably one of the most lethal and potential 3 or 4 seeds that will be in the NCAA tournament this season. It's not very often that you can sit there and you can say, wow, that's a 3 or 4 seed. Like normally they're a 1 or a 2. So for a 3 or 4 seed, maybe they might even be a 5. I'm not sure how it'll all kind of play out. We'll see what happens with the Big Ten tournament here. But that's a lethal team. That's scary. And like we said, that's scary good, at least on paper. They were supposed to be the best team in the Big Ten, and I think they just need a couple games, maybe win a few here and there. I think they'll be right back in it.
Okay. You may be surprised at what I'm going to say. Since January, Michigan State has lost 7, I believe, of 11 games. And you know how hard it is to just dial it up? You would like to see some signs that the team can make a deep tournament run. So, unfortunately, we're doing this podcast just a day before the start of the Big Ten tournament. So, we're not going to get a chance to see. The Big Ten tournament will be a big indicator of what's going to happen in the tournament. But I believe right now, as we speak, I'm selling on Michigan State. I don't think a team playing this way with this caliber can make a deep tournament run. Now, for Michigan State standards, a deep tournament run means Final Four, championship game. I don't see that. I think they are a top 16 team, which would indicate they may survive opening weekend and lose the next game.
You don't think they'd at least get to the Elite 8?
No, I don't think. I think that might be the peak, would be the Elite 8. I just think that, to be honest with yourself right now, if I said, yeah, I think I'm buying that they're going to make a deep run, would just be me being a homer. I'm looking at this team. This team was maybe a little bit hyped up too much in that they won early versus Kentucky, all the hype, and they just, right now, the situation with Michigan State is this. Who's the guy that's going to take over the team and be the leader? It has to be Appling and it has to be Adrian Payne. But right now, their situation in terms on the court isn't showing that. They are not consistent. Like I said, they've lost 7 of 11 games, a lot of key games in the Big Ten. But on the flip side, you have to remember, the Big Ten is a nasty, nasty basketball division. And, sometimes it's a little bit unfair to judge a team based on what they do in the regular season, because the teams from the Big Ten sometimes have been making deep runs because teams don't play that intensive defense as they do in the Big Ten. So teams like Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State have made big runs because collectively as a unit, the league has made each team better because they bang, they play tough, they play intense. And so the league as a whole, I believe, is the second or third best, if maybe not the best, conference as a whole collectively. So it's a top 3 conference. The teams that play each other they bang and they make each other better. But when you go in the NCAA tournament, you see that the level of intensity sometimes is not as high as you see in the Big Ten. But I just can't. The question is a deep run. So with that said, right now as we speak, with Michigan catching up to Michigan State and being on the same level.
Oh, thank you. That was supposed to be taken care of 3 weeks ago, and I was going to ask you to do it, but no, thank you. Thank you for doing
Michigan
that. With Michigan being
on the same level as Michigan State as we speak, I just think that I have to sell Michigan State making a deep run in the tournament. Speaking of the equal Michigan University, congratulations, they won the Big Ten outright.
You see what I'm wearing?
First time since 1986.
See what I got going on over here?
Clap, clap, clap. You get the golf clap. I don't know. Hopefully they did.
I've got so much maize and blue on right now. I'm like a freaking billboard for
They
Michigan.
won the Big Ten. Congratulations. Outright. Since the first time since 1986. Great job. Woohoo. I'm so excited for the University of Michigan. Great job.
You sound so enthusiastic.
Some controversy came out in that, some speculation from some reporters out there that Nick Stauskas may be leaving for the NBA. Are you, cuz, buying or selling Nick Stauskas joining the NBA draft after this season?
I'm buying, and by all the preliminary research I've done on this topic, he's a top 20 pick. Actually, he's just outside the top 15, according to Chad Ford. So I think he's probably the best pure shooter in the draft if he was to enter. That being said, I don't know if he's not the best athlete, but he's the best pure shooter. I think he has a great chance to make a big impression on one of those teams that sits there and will be drafting somewhere later on. He wouldn't go to probably one of the worst teams, but I think he'd go to a solid situation where he would make a big impression, and I think he'd be solid. I think he would sit there and he would surprise you, almost like Trey Burke surprised everybody else this year when he sat there and he played with Utah, especially when he came to Detroit and just rolled over Detroit. So I think he would be a solid pick in the draft, and I'm buying him leaving and going to the draft.
I am too. What more else is there for him to do? I expect him fully to be a shining star in this tournament, and I think his stock can even go higher. Maybe get into that top 15 if he can get this team to the Final Four or to the Elite Eight and can have some clutch shooting performances. Nick Stauskas has been the thorn in Michigan State's side. You can see it. He's clutch, and he's risen his game to this season to be consistently clutch. And so with that, he's a leader of a team. He's going to have the spotlight on him in these key games. And just look what Trey Burke did. 1 or 2 key games, getting that clutch 3 to tie the game. Shot his stock way up, and look what he's done.
He was a top 10 pick, and then
now
Hardaway, he's done great things in the NBA.
Hardaway, playing in New York, the team is garbage. The Knicks are playing horrible at basketball, and they just got, Phil Jackson in there. But I think Hardaway's done well for himself. I think that Nick Stauskas should join the NBA draft. I don't think he's going to gain too much by staying another year, and I think the risk is too great. And if he just looks at what happened with Marcus Smart out there, he was a potential number 1 pick, but he stayed. And I don't think you guys were saying, I've been hearing that, I know you said his status has dropped to like bottom 15. I don't think so. I think from reports that I've been reading, he's still in the top 15, not outside it. I don't think he's going to drop to, I think his talent now in the last couple weeks, he's kind of shaped his game up a little bit. He's been playing a lot more consistent.
And that's why it's gone up. When we were talking about that, he was much lower on the draft scales just because of the incident that he had and the way he was playing. Because going into that guy couldn't score a bucket if he wanted to.
So we'll see how he does in the tournament. But I think Nick Stauskas, I'm buying him joining the NBA draft, and I think he'll have a great career as a spot-up shooter, a la Kyle Singler. I went to the game yesterday, versus the Pistons played Sacramento, and Kyle Singler, as a shooter, man, they have sets for him. They roll the guys to the other side of the court, and he sits there on the three-point line. He's a great shooter. And so I thought going into yesterday's game, we got one player on the team, Andre Drummond, and wiped their floor with the rest of them. I would keep Andre Drummond, Kyle Singler, and wipe the floor with everyone else.
Yep. I like Kyle Singler as well. I think he's a solid 6-man.
Yep, he's a solid player. He's a player you keep on this team. Andre Drummond, he's a beast. And yesterday the Pistons played defense. I was like, defense? What? They played it. At first it was a little bit rocky, and man, because in person it's much worse. Brandon Jennings and Josh Smith. Oh, I mean, it's bad because it's basically like pass. They get the ball and shoot. That's about it. Yesterday's shot, though, Josh Smith's shot was going down, but Brandon Jennings got worked by Isaiah Thomas, because I don't think Brandon Jennings had like maybe 5 points and like 5 rebounds. He played horrible. And Isaiah Thomas was just a little guy running all over the floor with energy. He was making his shots, and he went to the hole. Brandon Jennings, what? When you see it in person, I've only been to 2 games this year as a Pistons fan. One, Upper Deck's empty. Nobody there. It was Tuesday night versus Sacramento. It was my birthday, so I got tickets for free, and that's why I went. But when you watch the game in depth as someone that watches the game, oh my gosh, the sets were horrible. They won the game. The offensive sets, they were basically one pass shot. It was so bad. But then finally, they got into a rhythm with Andre Drummond making some plays, and Rodney Stuckey was the key player yesterday, 20-plus points, because he had a great matchup versus McCallum, and he worked it. So Rodney Stuckey's going to have himself a job. He can play if he's motivated and passionate. It's just getting him to be motivated to play better. So it was interesting. Go out there, guys. If you want to see a Pistons game really cheap, go out there. You can get a great seat. You can do your thing. Maybe get a cheap ticket and work your way down, a la what the Jock does, and see for yourself what is going on, as you can see what's going on TV with the offense. But yesterday they played good, and they won for my birthday, so I'm happy with that.
That's good. I'm surprised they played defense.
Yeah.
Speaking of defense and the Pistons, Bill Laimbeer, how do you feel about him being an NBA head coach?
I am going to, this is a very interesting question. I am going to sell on him being a productive NBA coach, whether it be with the Pistons or another team. A lot of talk out there, the fans like to say, okay, we're going to get a new coach. They like to throw up Bill Laimbeer. Based on what? Based on the fact that he coached women and they were successful? Okay, now he has had some small stints in the NBA as an assistant coach, but that doesn't indicate to me what kind of head coach he's going to be. You need experience, and you need experience extensively with winning organizations to be able to say, okay, this is the guy. These Pistons right now, I think, would eat him alive. I think he would be one of the most entertaining and ferocious coach out there. I think after maybe 2 weeks of what he sees with this team, oh my God, the F-bombs would be flying. This team is soft. This team plays for themselves. This team lacks accountability. You got Josh Smith out there doing his own thing. For an entertainment standpoint, for what he may say, I think his personality would be perfect here. But in terms of productivity, in terms of, saying to me, Bill Laimbeer would be a great coach, I just think that I'm selling. I just need to see more. I need to see him maybe with another team and see how he handles an NBA male roster. So I don't think that he's going to be hired by the Pistons. I think we're going to start clean and we're going to get someone that I think is a proven leader. Maybe George Karl is out there. And over his 20-year plus coaching career, he's won in Cleveland. He's won in Denver. In his last stint, Denver, a team that was kind of in the basement for a long time. He took them to the playoffs. And his situation is this. He's kind of the in-between coach. He's not a championship level coach. He's a guy that at least can take us from where we are to the playoffs, and that's where we're at. And unfortunately, for Pistons fans, that's where you're at. You're in the basement. We are in the basement. And so I think my opinion would be for George Karl, but personally, I am selling Bill Laimbeer as being a successful NBA coach.
I think the real question is what defines success. If success is making it to the playoffs, I think he'll be a successful playoff I think he'd be a successful playoff NBA head coach. If you look at from that Bad Boys era, you look at the other guys who have gone on to do things coaching. And when I say that Bad Boys era, I'm including Boston, the Boston Celtics from that. You've got Larry Bird, who went on and coached the Pacers, got them to the playoffs. You've got Kevin McHale out in Houston. They're going to the playoffs. You've got Isaiah Thomas. He got the Knicks to the playoffs, I think, at least once. So I think Laimbeer could come in, and I think for all the reasons that you had named, the bad attitude, the guys doing individual things, not playing as a team, not acting like professionals, I think he can instill that professionalism in them, and I think he could get the most out of that team and make them be, finger quotations, successful. So I'm going to buy him. I think he would work in the NBA. You say just because he coached women, he did a lot of great things in the WNBA. Did a lot of great things in the WNBA. And I think that's a testament to him and his coaching ability. I don't know if you could sit there, and I don't know if you could take Phil Jackson and put Phil Jackson on, say, the Los Angeles Sparks and get the same type of outcome. I don't think you can do it. So him being able to take these women and mold them the way he wants to mold them, and then sit there and win consecutive championships, I think it's a great testament to him. I think he could come in. I think he could actually do something. I don't know if he could get you a championship, but I think he'd at least get you to the playoffs, and I think he would at least restore some dignity to that locker room, because I think they're ignorant, and I think they're stupid, and I think they act like children. Like you said, sit there, pass, chuck the rock, pass, chuck the rock. Just go down, not going to drive the hole. Lane's wide open. We're going to stand out here in three-pointville and shoot. If there was a 4-point line, we'd be standing over there. We've talked about that before. So I think Bill Laimbeer has a shot to actually do something, help mold some minds, and actually make productive members of we'll just say this Piston team. So I think he would work as an NBA coach.
Okay, we agree to disagree. I totally disagree. And I think if Bill Laimbeer is named the Pistons head coach, I just think that he'll be another 1 or 2 year coach for us. I don't think that a new GM would hire him. So I don't think that's a likely scenario. And I just think that, he may, like I said, I wouldn't totally overrule him being a successful head coach, but I just think that right now his stock is pretty low, in my opinion. All right, cuz, for those who have waited now to the end of this podcast, I'm interested to hear we are at the point in the show where we're going to hear some opening day stories. Opening day is just around the corner, 19 days away, I believe. We are, 19 days away from opening day, March 31st versus Kansas City here at Comerica Park. And what do you feel comfortable sharing? Remember, you can say whatever you want. You can share whatever you want. There's no restrictions. I can't dump you. So you are bound by nothing. So please feel free to share with us. What have you done at opening day that you feel comfortable sharing?
I'm going to let you pick which story you want to hear. Do you want to hear the sleeping in public places, or do you want to hear the cross-eyed stripper?
Oh, obviously. Okay. We'll save the sleeping in public places for next week.
I can tell you both.
No. You said we're going to spread it out, so we'll share these stories throughout the next couple weeks, the next couple shows. But I obviously want to hear the cross-eyed stripper story. Go ahead.
Okay. So after many, many drinks, lots of beer, end up at the strip club, which is where we always end up. Go there for a great time. And for those of you who don't know and don't have strip club etiquette, the moment you make eyes with a stripper, she's on you. She's coming over. She's sitting there talking to you. She wants nothing but to take you in the back room and give you a lap dance and try to milk $20 out of you.
What kind of lap dance? The regular lap dance or the professional lap dance?
No, just the regular one. I'm not getting any of that stuff done. I don't even like getting lap dances. They don't do anything for me. It's not fun.
You're not going to the right place, cuz.
Oh, no. Oh, I know there's places. They just, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. I've got buddies who do stuff like that. It's whatever. It's just this stuff doesn't do that for me. So anyways, sitting there, and this girl just got done dancing. I'm sitting at a table. I wasn't sitting up at the stage, which is normally where I sit when I do go to the strip club. She gets off stage, walks down, and I just happened to look up. And when I had looked up, she had happened to look, and we just kind of made eyes real quick. And I was like, shit. So next thing you know, she's over, she comes, starts talking to me. My buddy pulls a 20 out, slips it to her, and she's like, oh, I'm going to go give you a lap dance. And I'm like, I'm good. I don't want one. And she's like, your friend already paid for it. So I was really pissed off at my buddy Scott, and I ended up kicking him underneath the table because she wasn't very attractive. And the whole eye thing was just freaking me out. I just couldn't. It was just weird. So we go in the back room. She's dancing all over me. She's sitting there in between my legs and just kind of shaking it, and her top's off, and she's looking right at me, and so I think, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I look over my shoulder, I'm like, what the hell are you, what are you looking at? And she's like, I'm looking at you. Mind you, the one eye is just kind of like wandering off, and I'm just like, what the hell is going, it was the most awkward, uncomfortable thing ever. Swear to God, I looked over my shoulder 4 times, like, what do you see? What's going on back there? Yes. The whole time she's just sitting there shaking it and grinding on me. She's like, do you like this? Are you enjoying this? And I just really wanted to be like, no, I'm creeped the fuck out. This is scaring me. I don't know what you're looking at. I just want to get out of here. So I had 2 songs because it was, 2 for 1. And I had to sit there and muscle through 2 of those things. It was really uncomfortable, and she didn't bother me much after that.
So the uncomfortable stripper after lots of drinks. She didn't look like a 10, even though she was a 4 after that many drinks.
No,
you
dude.
didn't have enough drinks.
She wasn't.
You weren't drinking enough.
Dude, you ever look at somebody with just eyes that are just weird? It freaks you out. It makes you very uncomfortable. I think my penis crawled inside me. It just wanted to hide.
Is that theory true? Like the ugly chicks do more at the strip club to try to, because they got to overcompensate for being so nasty and hit out?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. That is pretty true. Because
I'm elitist. I'm not going to lie. I just go for the 10s. 10 or they leave me alone. So basically, a girl comes up. I'm pretty straightforward. Granted, ladies, gentlemen out there, Adam and I are married. So, these are probably old stories. I don't go to the strip club anymore. Wink, wink. I'm pretty straightforward. If you're not a 10 or maybe an 11, then I'm like, the girl come up. The easiest way to get a girl to leave you alone, you just be like, listen, I only brought like $5. I'm here to have a drink. You won't see another girl for the rest of the night. Because they all go back and talk to each other and say, okay, table 5, the douchebag over there, the bald douchebag in the blue collar shirt, he ain't got no money. So you can sit there.
I like how you have your strip club apparel already laid out.
Of course. The douchebag at table 3, he's only having drinks. You can sit there, listen to the music, play on your phone, enjoy the ambiance, and no one will bother you. Now, once you get that first girl that's a 10, you get her attention, you show her a lot of money, then you have a good time because then all the other chicks that are good looking come. The bad looking chicks know right away that you're not going to give them money because you don't. The key, guys, out there is simple. The girl that you want attention from, you just tip when they go on stage. You give them, the tip, they come back. You don't have to give them eye contact. You wait till they get on stage. Then you go up there, make it rain, as they say. You make it rain, and they show you attention. So for me, I'm elitist. You got to be a 10, or you don't get a penny from me. So that's as simple as that. That's how I roll. And so that's how, I've never had, not once, ever had a bad time at a strip club. Never.
If you have a bad time at a strip club, you're doing something wrong.
You're doing something wrong. You're with the wrong crowd. You're not in the right spirit, and you don't know what the hell you're doing. There's no way to have a bad time. I would go, literally, if I was single, I would go 5 days a week. Just go have a couple hours, have a beer, have a steak, see what you got to see, and bust out. It should be part of. It's not a bad place. I think it's great. And man, because they're adding a new strip club like every street, basically. Groesbeck, Shaner, Hoover, Van Dyke, Mound. I got to get the next street. What's the next street? John R. They don't have one on, maybe have one on John R.
They do.
So
it's the one I normally go to.
Yeah, John R. And then, keep going down the line. I think just every street. I think we have to go backwards now. We got to hit 8 Mile and Gratiot. There's not one on 8 Mile and Gratiot. So we got to remove those Dunkin' Donuts and that White Castle and just build like a little, so we can go right there. You can go, hello, everyone, Gratiot, Shaner. We got to start building these. The more the merrier, man. They keep building them, so obviously they must be doing something right.
They make money, man.
All right, my first story is really good, really simple. Same thing. Lots of alcohol was involved. At that point, it's around like 10 o'clock. Now, because in Detroit, downtown, 2 places to go, have reached legendary status. American Coney Island and Lafayette. Mm-hmm. I've been there once. I don't remember which one I went to. I was in one of them. I was so inebriated. I remember there was a short Mexican busboy that waited on us and brought us the food or cleaned up our plate.
I think
but
you were
I
at
don't
Lafayette.
remember which Coney Island I went to.
I think you're at Lafayette.
Okay, is the one place that's kind of like has the white tables? Or, you know, like I said, we walked in. I was so inebriated that I know I got a hot dog, and I know it was a basic Coney dog, and it was good, but I don't remember which place I went to. So then finally, it comes time to you're feeling like, you know, the room is spinning. You're feeling like you're not in the best of spirits. I had my driver. He's like, okay, where's your car? I'm like, uh-oh. It's in a parking lot. I know it's in a parking lot. So he's like, okay, which parking lot? Good question. I don't know what parking lot we're at. So now we start walking. Walk to this way, walk to the left. We go into a parking lot. I think this is the one. We go through first floor, second floor, third floor. Just a little three-story parking lot. My car's not there. I'm like, man. And now at this point, it's a little bit cold outside. At this point, it's like 11:30. The driver's like, man, I want to get out of here. We want to go to the next place we're going to go to. I'm like, I don't know where my car is. And he's like, you don't remember the name of the parking lot, a sign, nothing? I'm like, no, I don't remember. So at that point, I'm like, okay, we got to keep walking. So we go to the next parking lot. Then at that point, I started to get my bearings. And yes, I'm like, okay, I know where I'm at. Now this parking lot's a little bit bigger. So now, first floor, we don't find the car. Second floor, we don't find the car. I'm like, man, is this the place? Finally, we get to my car, and I finally find my car. And after a while, you're thinking, my driver's thinking, man, why did I get stuck with this guy? And so finally, at the end of the night, we went to Bosco out there in Ferndale. We had a good time, and it was, like I said, my first opening day. It was an all day. Like I said, I was intoxicated all day, and luckily I made it safe. I had a driver. I had someone go with me, and so everyone out there, don't drink and drive. But I had a good time. I went to Coney. I went to one of the classic restaurants in Detroit. I lost my car. I didn't know where I was, but in that, I still found it after maybe an hour. It took me an hour to find it. An hour
That's
search.
crazy.
An hour search. Got to a nice club at about midnight, and finally, basically passed out for like an hour and a half. Just sat there, listened to the music, and kind of took a little nap. And sobered up by closing time. I was sobered up because I didn't get to have any drinks at the next place. Sobered up and got home and got the hangover the next day. I still remember it. I think I still was a little bit under the weather, under something, because I didn't feel good. And you know, when you don't drink a lot, I drink once or twice a year heavily, I would say. So when you don't drink a lot and you have a hangover, it's tough, man. But you know, you always go with McDonald's and Coke. That's my solution. That's my hangover solution. McDonald's and Coke is great for me.
How amped up was your DD? Was he just like at this point like, why this guy?
Oh, everyone at some point realizes that either I'm gonna lose my keys or I'm gonna do something stupid or say something stupid. Because once as you can see, I like to talk, but I'm more conservative, sober. Once you put a lot of alcohol in me, there's no more being conservative. Yo, what up? And you just say the most disrespectful things you can say to ladies. I say them. The most, you know.
So you're a misogynist, huh?
I'm whatever you think is in my brain. As you know me as a doc, what I would think comes out of my mouth. I have no filters. Hey, come here, ladies. I'm Don Juan. I am the guy. There's no problem. I'm not shy. If you put a couple drinks in me, I'm not shy. I will go up to any lady, ask her, say whatever I want to say to her, tell her what I think about her, with or without her boyfriend there. And so they got to be like grabbing me, like I can tell I've been drinking because I can have like my shirt will be ripped, and because everyone's trying to grab me away from, like, why are you hitting on the married lady? Well, because she's good looking. Well, I don't care. At that point, you know, you're there to have a good time, and I'll do and say whatever. You know, that's what it's about. You do and say whatever you got to do, and you have a good time. So when I want to have a good time, I know how to have a good time. Let's leave it at that. So
I can take it your wife's not going to listen to episode 31.
Oh, man.
After you just admitted all that, she's not listening to episode 31.
Listen, if you want to know the Doc's Guide to Marriage, maybe you can put that down as a note, the Doc's Guide to Marriage. I told my wife up front. I told her right away. I said, listen, my eyes are going to wander. Always. What? What do you mean your eyes are going to wander? Because I'm a man. And as a man, I'll be honest with you, every man thinks about other women. Hands down. I told her that before we got married. I said, if you can handle that, me being me, that's the way it is. But I'll never cheat on you. I'm never gonna do anything like that. You got my word. But if you're gonna ask me, is that girl good looking, and I think she is, I'll tell you. It's the truth. You got to be honest. I'm not gonna sit here and try to lie to anybody and say, hey, you know, she's ugly just to deal with your insecurity, that's your issue. I can tell you that I'm gonna choose not to cheat on you, but if a girl is good looking, I'll be the guy that's gonna walk into a wall staring at her. So you just be honest and tell the truth. Guys are guys, and you have to make a choice. Are you gonna be faithful or not? But guys always are gonna look. It's as a doctor, it's biology. Once every 6 seconds or less than that, guys think about sex. So that's just the way it is. It's normal. That makes me a normal heterosexual male. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I got nothing. Good job.
With that, if we still have any fans left out there after listening to this,
after all that,
thank you out there for
after
listening.
the Dog's Guide to Marriage and biology
I should probably
and
put that
sex and everything else that he sat there and spider-webbed off of.
The first edition of the Doc's Guide to Marriage, guys out there, just be honest. Tell them that you're a pig. It makes your life much easier than trying to hide it. That's a fact.
That's true. I'll agree with you.
All right. We've come to another podcast because these things just come and go, man.
This is like the highlight of my week. So I think either I live a really, really depressed life or this is a lot of fun. Maybe it's a combination of both.
All right. So another episode comes, and it was a good time. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully we've given you a lot of information, a lot of insight into Detroit sports, and insight into our whacked out brains. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Thank you for listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Go Wings.
I don't go to the strip club anymore. Wink, wink.
I think my penis crawled inside me.
The douchebag over there, the bald douchebag in the blue collar shirt, he ain't got no money.
No? You're really weird.